A highly exclusive royal event just unfolded in the heart of London, meant to be a triumph of unity and celebration. But a sudden, glaring absence has completely flipped the narrative, leaving everyone wondering what is actually happening behind the palace gates. You have the king himself stepping out to honor some of the brightest minds in the world. The cameras are flashing, the dignitaries are lined up, and yet, one of the most crucial senior working royals is mysteriously nowhere to be found, sparking immediate whispers across the velvet-roped rooms. Hold on to that thought, because the reason behind this sudden vanishing act reveals a lot more about the current fragile state of the monarchy than anyone is openly admitting. And we are going to dive right into the incredibly fascinating details of what exactly went down today. According to reports, King Charles was center stage to present the highly prestigious Queen Elizabeth Prizes for higher and further education to 19 different universities and colleges, an event that is widely considered a massive cornerstone of the royal calendar, designed specifically to recognize outstanding, groundbreaking work across multiple complex disciplines. It is the exact kind of grand, highly formal affair that absolutely demands a strong showing from the core royal family members, the type of high-stakes engagement where public optics are literally everything to the crown. But as the lavish ceremony commenced and the accolades began to flow, eagle-eyed royal watchers and the press pool immediately noticed a massive gap in the lineup, a missing piece to the royal puzzle that entirely shifted the mood of the room. Prince Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh, a man who has essentially been the dependable, unwavering backbone of the family's public engagements lately, was completely missing from the grand affair. Why would a senior royal, who has recently been carrying an enormous amount of the monarchy's weight on his shoulders, suddenly pull out of an event carrying his own late mother's name? The answer to that specific question is both surprisingly simple and deeply complex. But before we get to the official palace statement, we have to look at the immense, almost invisible pressure that has been quietly placed on his daily life over the past year. You see, with the monarchy currently operating on this heavily discussed slimmed-down model, every single working member is stretched to their absolute physical and mental limits, jumping relentlessly from one high-profile engagement to the next with very little room to breathe or recover. Edward has been out there non-stop, shaking hands, cutting ribbons, delivering speeches, and keeping the royal brand afloat while other senior members have dealt with their own highly publicized health situations. So, when someone like the incredibly reliable Duke suddenly drops off the public radar without much warning, the public and the press naturally brace for the absolute worst. Because, let's be perfectly honest with ourselves, the track record for royal health updates recently has been nothing short of a stressful roller coaster ride for royal fans globally. Sources claim that the Duke is currently packing himself after coming down with a rather nasty cold, and he simply opted to skip today's major event to rest and recover at home. Now, I have to pause right here and inject a little bit of my own personal perspective, because it is almost uniquely fascinating how a simple, everyday case of the sniffles instantly becomes international headline news when you happen to have a royal title attached to your name. Imagine trying to call out of work because you have a scratchy throat and a bit of a cough, and suddenly, your sick day is being broadcast across global news networks, intensely analyzed by royal experts in television studios, and debated passionately on morning talk shows everywhere. It is a level of intense, suffocating scrutiny that honestly borders on the absurd, but it also brilliantly highlights just how incredibly thin the royal roster has actually become in modern times. If just one person catches a common cold, the entire royal schedule feels the immediate impact, and that is a glaring, unavoidable vulnerability for an ancient institution that prides itself on projecting unwavering stability and unshakable strength to the rest of the world. But is it really just a simple cold, or is it the inevitable, entirely predictable result of complete and utter physical burnout? To truly understand why his immune system might be waving a massive white flag right now, We have to trace his steps back to his last major public appearance, which suddenly opens up a whole new, deeply intriguing layer of curiosity for us to explore. It was only exactly 2 weeks ago that Edward was last seen operating in a public capacity, and he was not just lounging around a quiet, peaceful countryside estate. He was actively navigating the bustling, high-stakes, highly energetic environment of Italy, officially attending intense planning events during the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympic Games, traveling internationally, constantly engaging in non-stop diplomatic meetings, and acting as a primary global representative for the crown takes a remarkably heavy toll on absolutely anyone, let alone someone who has been stepping up tirelessly to cover the immense gaps left by other resting royals back in the United Kingdom. The contrast here is incredibly sharp, going from the freezing, fast-paced, highly demanding Olympic preparations in Italy to suddenly being confined to his private quarters with a warm cup of tea and a box of tissues. It genuinely makes you wonder just how much these individuals are fully expected to endure physically before their bodies simply force them to take a necessary, unapologetic break from the relentless spotlight. While Edward was noticeably and heavily absent from the proceedings, the show in London absolutely had to go on, and it brought another powerhouse royal into the glowing spotlight, someone who frankly never seems to take a single day off in her entire life. Princess Anne, the fiercely dedicated Princess Royal, was there standing tall alongside the king, and she was not just simply making up the numbers to fill the empty space. She was attending in her official, highly esteemed capacity as the Chancellor of the University of Edinburgh. Now, if we are talking about pure, unadulterated royal work ethic, Princess Anne is the undisputed, reigning heavyweight champion of the world, a woman who routinely and effortlessly logs more public engagements in a single week than most people do in an entire month. And her commanding presence today was a massive, comforting anchor for the entire high-profile event. What is even more fascinating and slightly ironic about her specific involvement today is that her very own university actually received a highly coveted award for its cutting-edge research and brilliant education delivered by its Center for Fire Safety Engineering. Just think about that incredibly unique dynamic for a second, because it is truly wild when you picture it. We have senior royals, who literally live their entire lives inside centuries-old, incredibly historic palaces, formally handing out prestigious modern awards to brilliant scientists who are actively figuring out exactly how to stop modern buildings from catching fire. It is this bizarre, wonderful, and totally unexpected collision of ancient royal tradition and highly futuristic scientific innovation, which is exactly why the Queen Elizabeth Prizes are considered so absolutely crucial to maintaining the modern royal brand's relevance. But the incredible, world-changing work recognized today certainly did not just stop at fire safety, and the other impressive winners might actually surprise you even more, proving without a doubt that this event was far more than just a typical, rigid royal photo opportunity. Today's grand, spectacular ceremony officially celebrated 19 extraordinary winners, all carefully chosen for their unparalleled innovation, brilliant execution, and total excellence across a wildly diverse range of academic subject areas that directly and profoundly impact our daily lives. According to reports from the event, this deeply impressive roster notably included a deeply innovative center, entirely dedicated to tackling the massive, ever-growing sustainability crisis within the global textile industry. We all know perfectly well how environmentally destructive the fast fashion world can be. So seeing the king, who is famously known for his lifelong environmental advocacy, formally recognize major efforts to clean up that specific ecological mess sends a very clear, highly powerful message about the monarchy's rapidly evolving, modern priorities. But the story actually gets even deeper and more socially impactful, because another major award was proudly handed to a truly groundbreaking educational partnership, actively providing higher education directly within the prison system. It is alleged that this specific, highly ambitious initiative has fundamentally transformed countless lives behind bars, offering a much-needed second chance to individuals who have historically been entirely forgotten by mainstream society, brilliantly proving that the Crown is not just focusing solely on elite, wealthy institutions, but is also shining a massive light on gritty, real-world social rehabilitation and profound personal redemption. And if that specific detail does not immediately grab your attention, another massive prize proudly went to absolutely unprecedented, highly advanced research into Paralympic performance, beautifully pushing the absolute physical boundaries of exactly what the human body can achieve and ensuring that phenomenal athletes with disabilities have guaranteed access to the absolute best scientific advancements currently available on the planet. Hearing about these massive, deeply inspiring, world-changing projects honestly makes Prince Edward's sudden absence feel even more pronounced and profoundly disappointing, because these are exactly the very types of passionate, deeply human-centric, and highly uplifting causes that the Duke of Edinburgh has personally championed throughout his entire professional royal career. He has literally spent decades of his life passionately working with global youth programs, major sports initiatives, and highly impactful educational trusts. So having to miss this specific, deeply meaningful ceremony must have been incredibly frustrating and genuinely annoying for him on a very personal level. You really have to wonder exactly how he felt sitting quietly at home, knowing full well that the king and his notoriously hardworking sister were out there, publicly celebrating the very specific topics and global causes that he is deeply and personally passionate about. This glaring realization brings us firmly back to the central, unavoidable issue that simply cannot be ignored by anyone closely watching the royal family right now, which is the overwhelming, undeniable fragility of the modern monarchy's incredibly packed schedule and the remarkably intense public reaction to absolutely any sign of royal physical weakness. We are currently living in a highly reactive digital era where the general public is incredibly sensitive, almost hyper-aware, to any royal health news that breaks. After the shocking, highly emotional, and completely unprecedented medical announcements we have all witnessed recently from other incredibly key royal figures, every single sudden absence is immediately placed under a massive, unforgiving global microscope. When the official palace communications team issues a carefully worded, highly cautious update simply saying a senior royal is just packing himself, the public naturally and immediately begins to read intensely between the lines, frantically searching for hidden meanings, undisclosed ailments, or secret palace cover-ups. It is an incredibly heavy, unyielding burden for the royal communications team, who must constantly and delicately balance the fundamental human right to personal medical privacy, with the public's seemingly insatiable,